All right, this is a search I did with Tana at the Montrose Summit Trial on November 10th. We ended up taking first in the search. It was not an easy search. I walked out of there. I had no clue that we actually would place. I got a 30-second warning, and I was convinced that there was no way that we could place in this because of all the craziness that happened with it. Turns out that we covered it pretty well, and actually her craziness was benefit because she was working odor much wider without a lot of control. And I think that's what made the difference in this search, is having a dog that was highly independent, but also highly odor obedient. She also got into a lot of naughty behaviors, which was really kind of a fun piece of it. I was laughing a lot, and I walked out of there thinking it was the most funniest, real ridiculous search that I had already done. It was an unknown number of hides. Turned out that there was 6 of them in there. I found 5 of the 6. So start line was here on the left. The whole search area, and Stacy's had to separate this into 2 segments because it was so large. So the search area started way down there. Did not include the stage, but it included the tables up front. It also went to the edge of the fabric curtain dividers. Those were our boundary, and there were some cones along them. And you'll see they were a suggestion to Tana at best. All right, so let's play this one, and I'll have a few comments as we get going. So right at the start of this search, I didn't realize this, but I totally forgot to start my clock. So I didn't actually know my time as I was working through this. I had to check on my GoPro, which is kind of handy to have a GoPro that you can turn on. I was able to check my time and kind of realize we had to get butt in gear halfway through. All right, so here, start line was the whole distance across the whole length here. And in retrospect, it is possible that if I had started right, we missed a hide here on this table. It might have made a difference that she could have found this hide. Maybe, maybe not. Sounds like this hide, after talking, was blowing out this way and really catching in this corner over here. So it is possible that if I had started right, that it might have been able to let her get wide and kind of come in from a different angle. It might have made a difference that we could find that one or not. In this situation, we didn't do it. So woulda, coulda, shoulda, question, don't know kind of situation. There was a hide here on this trash can. And so as a result, I saw these trash cans as we came in, they're right off the threshold. If I can start my dog near it, I might have a better success, especially if she's going to go into this trash bin and hopefully catch some odor. As you'll see when I get her started, she wasn't in a mindset that she was actually going to work it. So we didn't find it. We had to come back, and it was the last hide that we found. So you can see I'm trying to ask her to search what's in front of me, and let's see what she does. Immediately takes off, right? So I could have had her on leash. I could have controlled her a little bit. Maybe we would have gotten this hide fast at the beginning if I had held her and then asked her to come back and finish working before running off. I also had it very much in my head how large this space was, and I didn't want to hold her back to anything. She's not a dog to give me a false alert, but it is a ton of space to cover, and I'm going to have to rely on her to be able to find this stuff because I can't find it at all. Now, I did have a game plan going in walking wise. My game plan was to walk on the boundaries only. I really didn't want to get stuck in the middle of these tables because I knew if I was physically in the middle of them, I would get lost and it would be difficult for me to keep track of what we were doing, but also I would get in her way because if there's a hide in there, it's going to bounce around and catch. These are all plastic chairs, so the static electricity on them, it's dry, it's cold. So we've got a lot of factors that could have affected odor within that space. So my plan was to stay on the outside as much as possible. I knew I might have to dip in if there was odor there, but otherwise I was trying to stay on the outside. All right, so let's hit play. Huge skid stop. You know there's odor when there's a skid stop. I'm going to actually rewind it just a touch because it's so amazing to have a dog that will have those changes of behavior. So here, I actually did see her change her skid marks in the dirt. So here I'm going to pull down to the GoPro version. You can see as she's working around this space, it is not fast. So she gets to it at about 18 seconds. And as we keep watching, she's still working out this hide. And this is a dog that normally sources very quickly and gets to an answer there. At finally 34 seconds, she figures out the chair out here by itself. So here, My thought is she was going wide. The judge is Judith Guthrie, who Tana does know and like. So I thought in the response to the yes, which could have been, she was running to go say hi to her and kind of have fun with that. In retrospect, it might have been that she was working this table and she was coming in wide to grab some information off that side. Hard to tell. But either way, she knocks over the cone as we get back going. And I'm asking her to work. And she's saying how wide this odor is really going by how fast and how far she's going as she spins around the space. So here, trying to work the backside, and then she takes off. All I see is her running full speed down the back. So she's already turned and way out here, and I'm still way back at the start. But I do see that she slows right down, which is why I turn and I go down the middle aisle of these tables, because I do see that she catches some odor and we're starting to work things versus continuing my path around outside. Here she finds a little bit of food on the ground. It was a wrapper, and then she keeps moving. That's why I said finding, just a reminder. And here we're sourcing again. So about 1:20, we started this little game of trying to figure out where this hide is. Watch how far out she has to go. How much she's really pushing around the whole space to try and understand that. And I feel like I should be drawing lines on how far she's going. Here she's trying to push wider. I'm interrupting her to cut some time. She goes in and around. I'm trying to cover the fronts of these chairs and tables to see if that would give her some answers. And then she says edge of odor plume, and she starts working into source. So here she starts thinking about it, figuring it out. And I'm trying to give her a little support because it is a hard hide and she's not coming to it quickly. And here, this is really cute. As she's working it, I start seeing her bracket on these two chairs, and then she's like, she can't quite get through, and she's looking at it. How do I jump over the bottom edge of the table? I laugh at her and I say, hey, what about this side? And she goes, oh yeah, that's a better option. So here she's sourcing again. She's trying to understand it. A lot of wagging tail. I'm listening. And she snorts. And that's how I knew she was on the hide. So wagging tail, she stopped moving, and she gives a little snort if she's impatient with me. And so I even tell her that's cute. I like the little snort. So here, changes speed again. She's running wide. I can see her through it. I want her to come back in to where the change of behavior happened. She says, that was the edge, Mom. She turns around, edge again. So I'm saying what's in between those 2 points is a table, and I'm giving her time to work it. And then she gives me a little look, and we get going on that. All right, so I want to work these tables. There's not much past it. So just trying to keep moving. Can you actually pick up your head a little bit? And in this moment, she does clear it. But then we start getting a little bit naughty. So there's no hides anymore on this side of the search area. Not that I know this working. She's now just starting to play. She tries to climb up, maybe visit the judge. I'm trying to call her off. Can you jump off? She says no. I ended up having to go get her. And here I want her to work again. She's like, I found all the hides. We're having fun now. And so here she starts just licking the ground, finding food on the ground, laughing at her. I'm trying to get her to move out of that space because I'm recognizing that it's not productive. We have to keep moving. Here she goes, funny in the hind end. And so I saw that as she was going down. It's subtle, it's short. So here, I ask her to work, head dipped, just funny in the hind end. It's because she was working odor off that table. So I'm locked that in the back of my mind. In this moment, you'll see this in a little segment. She decides to climb the bleachers, totally out of bounds by 20 feet, 30 feet. She finds a cockroach. I put her on leash. So now I know we have to work much closer and much more efficiently because she is on leash. She's getting this really joyful little bouncy, and she has fun with that. And I know odor's typically around when that happens. Here, this was my choice. I go back in between these tables, and my plan was to go outside of the boundaries the whole time. I think that could have definitely affected our abilities to find this hide. If I had stayed out wider and saying we're going to work on the edges, maybe it would have been different. Why I did that is because we came down the front side this way. She went wide. And then as I'm coming back through to say there was odor, what's going on with this? I go back on the other side of the tables and chairs because what if it was blown the other way? So there's reason why I did it. It could have made the difference. Maybe not. Maybe this odor was just being finicky and there was no opportunity for us to find that hide at this point. Hard to know. Small little choices, right? We have to make them in a split second. But she does curl around, working odor, wagging tail, nose down. So if I had been a little more patient, less worried about time and how much we still had to cover, basically the whole middle and back of the space, maybe I would have been more patient. I needed her to be able to get a little bit more. That's information, right? This is thinking. My dog doesn't normally slow down and think like that. And that's all I gave her, is that little moment. It wasn't enough, so we move on. Sticking around, if I knew the hide was there and I had paused, I'm sure that she could have sourced it pretty quickly. But that's the element of some of these odors. They're a little bit more finicky. So here she's eating food on the ground. You can barely see it in the corner here. She's thinking about things. She's saying it's really fun. Now I got odor change. Now she's starting to triangulate a little bit. Just trying to put these pictures together. She's still eating things under tables and chairs. There's something like a Jolly Rancher in the dirt that she was licking just off, but here's odor. So I know that we have to stick around. So even though that she's getting distracted, she does need to stick around. We've got a leash problem a little bit because we've been swirling around, and there. So I see enough. It's probably here. Let her triangulate. She figured it out. Call that one. A little sticker on her head. All right. So then I'm like, we got to go. We don't have a lot of time. We have to start figuring this out. We had 7 minutes total. We are at 6 minutes. So I've got 6 minutes to cover the back tables, cover the space. She's just eating stuff off the ground. I'm trying to get a little bit of work, and she's just happy-go-lucky. She, in her head, is done, right? The hide that we missed at the very start, and the other one that was maybe pooling in her mind. I'm trying to get her focused. I pull out a cookie, I get her going, and she says, I'm still really distracted, Mom. All right. So here, can we get moving? And she's agreeing to that. She starts cutting out a little bit in between, but she's still looking at me. So I'm going, there's nothing new. There's nothing new. I ask her to work these tables. I'm still trying to convince her of this a little bit, but she's working. And I say, we still have these trash bins that you never actually checked. Oh, and holy crap, there's a hide. And she bounces off. And I had to call that because I knew our times was getting so short. My dog holds in that fraction of a second. I'm like, I don't even have time. You made a decision super fast. You wanted to come get a cookie. I'm calling it. So that kind of last minute having to make a choice of risk, I could have gotten a no in that moment. I did the day or the other search that we did in the morning. But it's just how it works sometimes. So for my dog who holds, this was for me outside of my comfort zone. She found a point, she pointed it, and she was ready to come get cookies, and I had to call it. So a wild search. There was a lot going on. There's a lot of odor converging and moving. It was amazing to see how far she had to go for a lot of these hides. So we had one here. We had the open chair in the middle. I believe it was like, it's hard to see it in this cluster. It's like in here. We had the table in here. We had the trash bin here. Another chair by itself right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what's fascinating about how wide these odor plumes were going, this one was tight. It was holding right here. It really wasn't moving, for us anyway, in any sort of way that she could easily catch. She had to have the intent to want to find it on the trash bin for that to work. This one was expanding. I was getting a little bit of it here, but it wasn't super clean. There wasn't a lot to catch and work off of. This one, she worked within this space a little bit wider, but not too bad. This one was confusing and a little displacing, right? She was eating cookies off the floor. So it was hard. We were already at 5.5 minutes by that point. So it's a lot of searching, a lot of endurance. This hide was wide. She had to work it through that whole front quarter. And then this hide was back here. It really was a little bit at the front, but it was really back there. And so as a result, it was blending with this other one which I could see get a little bit extra interest in that outside corner of the tables and chairs. Everything else back there was all empty, and that's why she ran full speed when we started down that line. And it's recognizing that she had no desire. Yeah, we need to go the other direction, but it really didn't make me want to go back to this back corner, because she went by it, no changes, no speed changes, no weird stutter steps, which is what I saw in the front here. And so as a result, it really had very little value for us to go back to. We did have to come back around the edge because she did not search any of this. So coming back in the other way was helpful to try and solve that problem and finish that off. So really, really fun search. I came out of there with a huge grin on my face. You could hear me, like, I was laughing and joking and nagging her because she was so naughty. She decided to go on the stage, up the bleachers, right? We had a lot of fun. And I think that's what contributed to be able to keep working some of these harder hides, is we saw it as a challenge to work together. And even when she got a little bit stressed, I didn't get worried about it. We just kept moving. And that became basically our answer on how to solve this for her and I. I know a lot of other teams had some fun in here. There was a lot of running, a lot of calling dogs, because it was open. We were allowed to do off leash, which if they wanted to, they could run around the whole building. There was a lot of space that they could run. So being off leash is a risk. But in my mind, it was worth it, because there was no way that I could work this with how she works hides. She works them from the edges of the outer cones and back in. There was no way. It would have been quite restricted, and we would have had a lot of problems, especially in this corner. I think we would have really struggled with one or two of those hides as a result. So really fun search. Thanks, Jean Richardson, for setting this. It was really fun.